All right, I see we still have a couple more people joining on. Hi, Carrie, nice to see you.
Hi.
Where are you guys located?
In Garden Grove, California. Byron's here too.
Hi, Byron, thanks for being here. Awesome. All right, well, I'm gonna just kind of kick this off, and I know we'll have some more members joining along the way. We are recording, so we'll share this back. So if there's anything that we talk about today that maybe you want to just listen to again, you'll have the opportunity. I'm joined here by Rochelle Scouten. She's the NBDA Development Director, partner in crime. She's amazing. So she's Zoom master, Zoom wizardry. She'll be monitoring the chat function. The way we like to keep the roundtables is open. This is a conversation, so we definitely have some questions for you. We have some content to share, but if there's anything that you want to ask specifically, don't be afraid to go ahead and throw it in the chat, or kind of nod or raise your hand, or we want everyone to feel like this is a really welcome environment, and we're having this so we can answer your questions and hopefully get you maybe into service contracts if that works for your business. We thank you for showing up. We continue to host the Monday Mingles, and we just hosted a roundtable on fit services because we want to make sure that we're giving you the best tools to help you improve your business. This conversation is centered around service contracts and the importance of offering them. We're continuing to look for new ideas, revenue sources as we navigate the current times. And this is a conversation that is so right on, it's so spot on for the time that we're in. I'm very thankful to Frank and Dan who have volunteered to be on the panel today. Not often do we get a retailer to come on and actually share what they're finding success-wise. And we are talking before everyone joined today, the value that comes from that from a retailer who firsthand experiences something. So Dan Fedderly is here. He is the Director of Operations at Wheel and Sprocket. And then we also have Frank McMillan, who's the President of Insure Protect, which is Ride's extended daily service. So I just want to kick it off with some basic introductions. Again, as I said, feel free to jump in at any time, ask questions. But Frank, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your role at Insure Protect?
Sure, I'm Frank. I'm the shy guy. Hopefully, let's see, do I need to join audio? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I want to make sure you can hear me. Okay. And I'm the president of a company called Insure Protect. We founded this company quite a while ago. I'm a 40-year vet of the service contract industry, but our big passion is this program that you see behind me and that Dan's going to talk about, which is our RIDES program. It stands for Ride at Daily Extended Service. And so, hopefully we'll get into it and talk what it's all about.
Thanks, Frank. And then Dan, you're here today to share your experience and how working with rides has impacted your store environment operations. Would you just introduce yourself and a little bit more about your role at Wheel and Sprocket?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about something we're so passionate about here as well. So I've been with the company since 2000, so quite some time. Started out just as many of us do, and just kind of loving bikes and then working through the system. But yeah, and so over the years, just in the management and then inventory and then operations director, but really focusing on the roles continue to evolve. So it's long-term strategy, implementing programs that are really valuable and that work and are vetted well and make life easier for our stores. So that's my number one job, is to make the stores' lives easier and improve the systems we have in place.
That's a long time. I can tell you love your job. And I know that Wheel and Sprocket did some things with the RIDES program to really make it your own. And we'll get into that a little bit. Frank, just jumping back, why did Insure Protect develop RIDES? Where did you see the need in the industry?
I appreciate that question. I'm an avid rider. I live here in the Santa Cruz Mountains, so I'm north of our friends in Garden Grove. And I ride in the Redwoods a lot, but I also ride road. I'm a triathlete. I've done, Ironmans and all that kind of stuff. And have a love for the industry. I was at Interbike in 2011 and went around and looked to see if there were, service contract programs and what they were all about. And frankly, having been a long-term veteran and an actual bike rider, I was kind of amazed at what was being offered. They were pretty simple programs. They seemed like typical insurance programs. And I got to work. I went back and started to study the industry. It took me about 4 years to develop it, started to gather a lot of data, what the current service contract programs were, and developed what I thought would make sense to a rider. When we do programs in Insure Protect, the first thing we do is look at what's this product category? What would make sense to a rider? You know, would a rider want annual maintenance? Would a rider need accidental damage? Because we all crash when we're riding, right? Do riders wear out chains? You know, what happens to bicycles? And having had experience both dirt and pavement, we developed rides and came up with what we thought was a comprehensive program. Once we did that, then it gets pretty tough. Then you have to actually figure out, how do you price this thing? How often will people need it? That's called frequency. And, you know, what's the average cost of repair or maintenance? And that's called severity in our business. And you multiply frequency times severity, and you have theoretically a break even. So we developed the program based upon real numbers, and brought it to some actuaries. These guys are number scientists, and they gave it the blessing. And then we brought it to the NBDA, the organization that obviously you're the president of. And it was sent to guys like Peter out at Landry's and 10 different NBDA board members. They looked at it and they said, yeah, this seems well thought out. So then we put together, you know, the designs and all this kind of neat stuff, and brought it to market at the end of 2019 at the P2 meetings. And so that's why we brought it out there, because we felt that we needed a program that the industry should be able to offer their customers, that they could look them in the eye and just like they'd sell it to their brother and sister and say, this thing's comprehensive. We feel good about offering it to you. And we made it so that when the dealers offer it, they can make about 50 points on it. And then the real deal is it ties that customer to that dealer. And then Dan will tell you, we pay the dealer their shop rates, their posted rates to do the service. So we are not pontificating to a dealer, here, you should be able to service this for $30 or $60. We ask the dealer, you give us your rates of service, you give us your rate of maintenance, and we will, if we need to, you know, fine tune or tweak the program for your company, we will do that. And then we will administrate it, and we will make it a program that's simple to sell, and et cetera, et cetera. But that's why we developed it. We felt there was a need in the bike industry. I did personally as a biker, and we threw our many years of experience at it, and here we are. Now we're having a great time talking to everybody on the phone, and we're happy to have Dan and Noel and everybody at Wheel Sprocket and everybody else that's joined us. We feel good about it.
I'm like, all right, so my brain is spewing because we did a podcast when I first started. I think it was like back in March, you and I did a podcast, and I was like, but how does this work? You know, how is this, you know, we have all these new customers coming in. It's a great time because maybe they're not cyclists. They're getting into the sport for the first time, to offer something like a service contract. But I'm a girl who says no. Like if you go and buy something at Best Buy, I'm like, I don't need that because I think it's shady. And you're like, Heather, it's all about averages, right? Like that. So this is where I'm at right now. It's actually good for the customer. But then I would say, Dan, I know Amelia and Noel, Wheel and Sprocket, you guys love your customers. I mean, your dad, community man. So why was this a good time for you to partner, you know, to think about offering service contracts? What was the thought processes that went behind that?
Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to meet Frank at one of the P2 events, and kind of started that conversation about the program and made us kind of reevaluate what we offer currently. So we've had service plan in contracts in place since I've been in the company, so a long time, and they've been tweaked and developed. But you know, again, there were some challenges. There wasn't as much buy-in at the store level. There was a lot of work that was put into post-sale. So, you know, you were kind of like, okay, great, we sold this program, but now, you know, we're on our own now. We cover all the costs for that. So really, when this program was presented to us, we really vetted it. We took quite a while to look through everything, work with Frank and Mike back and forth a whole bunch, went through the agreement, checked it out, and like, same thing, more and more we talked about them, like literally every time was more excitement, more like, okay, this is going to work. This is going to even provide a much better experience for our customers. And that's really what the whole reason for service plans, extended service plans is around for. So again, we looked at it, and ultimate goal is to just make it a win-win situation, and looked at it from initial sale to after sale, and we loved it. So going really well so far, and Yeah, like I said, ultimate win-win at this point.
Yeah, you have to make sure you can implement it for sure. I wonder for the retailers who are on the call, and I think we have about 10 or so retailers joining us. Is anyone offering service contracts now at the store? You could put your hand up, throw it into the chat. Shake your head, yes or no, dance around, no. Okay, not yet. If you're not offering service contracts, what's maybe been an impediment to starting, or why have you not started yet? And feel free to unmute and you can just shout it out too. Amos, you have something to share?
I have, a lot of times I'm not the one selling the bikes. Generally the repairs are coming in, but I'm not the original seller.
You're just doing the repair, but it's not a new bike that you're selling. Oh,
That's right.
Okay.
Frank, does the program only work for new bike sales?
The program is designed theoretically to be sold at the time of the new bike sale, right? Because of what happened in COVID and everybody, getting quote inundated with bike repairs and bike trade-ins and so on and so forth, we've been asked, including by Dan and his company, if rides can be offered on used bikes, and we are going to allow that, but there will be some requirements. For example, if you want to sell it on a previously owned bike, we need you to certify that you've tuned it up and that you've overhauled it, whatever the right terminology is, and guarantee your work for 90 days before this will take effect. That's what we're getting ready to bring to Dan, because Dan and Noel actually at our last quarterly business review said, hey, we want to start doing this. So we got to work and looked at it from a risk factor and got the blessing from the obligors. So that is going to go to market. So in the case of Amos, you say you're not selling, I'm guessing you're service only, and that people are bringing their bikes in, or you have a mobile service company. And yeah, it'd be interesting to talk to you and make this work for you so that you can do that, because I think it's important. A lot of people want to be able to cover their bikes, and it's nice to be able to offer it to them if you can.
Frank, you're so flexible. I love you. But I want to ask, what?
It's numbers and it's risk, and we don't just say yes. You can ask Dan. We do a lot of number crunching, and we're realistic about it. We don't want to put anybody in position where they get behind something and then we go oops.
Yeah.
That we don't like to do that. We've been around long enough to preview the oops. We've probably seen them before, so we just do the study. Yeah.
So Chris put in the chat what I think is like one of the most honest, and Chris, thank you for just putting this in the chat. He says, we want to make sure it is a value to us and the customer, and we want to make sure it does not seem scammy. I guess, Dan, maybe could you give your thoughts on that, since I'm sure this is what went through your mind too, Wheel and Sprocket.
Yeah, definitely. It's on everyone's mind. I think that's the number one question for sure. Really, it all comes down to the approach and how you have the conversation about the program. The customers, like, we try to really focus on that they're investing in us, and it's something that we wouldn't offer unless we feel really strong about it. It's not like you're in electronics or just something that's you would, like you said, get bombarded at Best Buy for, which at times you're kind of like, oh, okay, this isn't the right fit for me. But once you have a great discussion, you have an awesome experience with our sales team, you go through the process, you say, hey, here's all the costs it takes to take care of your bike properly. If you trust us and you want to invest in us, we're going to take care of you down the road. And then another reason the scamminess is gone is because we've already had some issues. We've had some claims filed, a lot of different things come up that have already been processed so well, and it's turned into such a positive relationship that now all of our team is like, oh wow, look at this is happening. Like this is creating some awesome experiences, and that's kind of like going away quickly. In fact, we had a huddle today with all of our managers and just shared some stories about great situations that have come up and why it's working well, and where we see it to go in the future. I think it's going to even help more out.
Yeah, I'm thinking that relationship you're creating from when you're telling your new customer about the service, and then they're coming back to you. I mean, they have a warranty plan through you, so you're building that relationship even deeper, and the history on their bike. And That's not scammy at all at that point. That's customer centric, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then this is the feedback too. A lot of customers are gonna, it just takes, each market just takes a few, some good experiences, and that really does permeate out into ride clubs, other organizations, friends, it's kind of word of mouth, and it just keeps growing as far as being a positive. Like it's almost like a must, like, oh, you should absolutely do this, because it just is like, then you don't have to worry about anything else, just ride and enjoy your bike.
Yeah. And Dan, we're not paying you to be here, right? So like, this is it. I'm just joking. What about the work? What about the work to implement it? I mean, Frank, I know you have all the hang tags. You're doing most of the work, right? It's just right into the point of sale system. Is that correct?
Well, it sounds easy, but you can ask anybody that implements a service contract business that there are steps involved, right? So yes, they need to put the SKUs into their system, right? They need to be able to transact that. In other words, scan the bike, scan the SKU, and collect the money. But at some point, whether it's nightly or weekly or monthly, they need to be able to report the sales, which means they need to either be able to draw that data out of their system and push it out and report. And not all companies have an ops guy or an IT guy or this guy or that guy. So that's difficult, to go in and spend time pulling reports. So we built dealer apps that dealer can log on and literally just, enter like 6 things, and that sale gets automatically uploaded into our system. So implementing it is one thing, reporting it's another thing. And then the third part of that is actually, that's normally asked for us is, well, geez, how do we get claims? How do we get authorization? And that's usually, fearful for some people, because they might go through extra steps to get authorizations from their OEM or for the distributor when products break. In our case, you going back to the scammy question, you present one of these to the customer, you collect money from them. This is backed by a very large A-rated insurance company. So the money doesn't sit with us, right? 1/3 of the money you pay us sits with us. That's our admin fees. The other 2/3 goes and sits in a reserve fund to pay for claims. We are the fiduciary, so when you need a claim, you can either go online, and we whitelist you, so you can literally go online and self-authorize in most cases. But in other cases that you think, there's ADH and you want to talk to us about it, or it's going to be an expensive repair, like we just replaced a bike for one of Dan's customers, and believe it or not, they bought a new bike, and was it a week later, Dan, or 2 weeks later or something, this poor kid goes out and crashes his bike again and completely destroys the thing. And that's obviously something it's an expensive part of the risk, right? And so, you talk about the scammy things. This is 100% above board. Here's your T's and C's. If this happens, it's going to be back. And we're the ones that get authorized that, because we are an independent TPA. We don't work for an insurance company. We're not working for shareholders of an insurance company trying to figure out ways to say no to you. We instead can search for ways to say yes. And because of that, we keep our T's and C's pretty simple. T's and C's stands for terms and conditions, by the way. It's a legal term, but we keep them pretty simple about things that aren't covered. And I mean, you can count them on literally 4 fingers. If it's abuse, we're not going to cover it. What does that mean? That means if you have your bikes on top of your car and you drive under a tree limb, that's not breaking your bike while you're riding, right? And in the case of Wheel and Sprocket, they make it really clear. They say accidental damage while riding your bike. They private labeled, and they put it literally right on your brochure. People are going, you'll really cover me for accidental damage while riding my bike? So that's legit. We don't pay for misuse. And all that means is if some guy's on his Pinarello and he decides he's going to go flying, I'm going to go mountain biking today. That wasn't designed for that. We don't have eyes on that. Your service department does. So you would have to tell us, don't cover this because this is what the guy did, not the other way around. We don't go send the bike in, or we're not going to fly somebody out to inspect it. We work with you. You have the sales side, And then you have the service side. You got to be able to look at your customers in the eyes. And the other things are so simple. It's acts of God, and the last thing's consumables. We all know what consumables are in this industry. It's your rubber is how Dan defines it. It's your tires, your inner tubes, and the wrap on your handlebars and the seat fabric. I mean, that's pretty much it, man. I mean, we're covering your wheels, we're covering your spokes, we're covering that hanger that goes into the spokes, we're covering your drop seat, your shocks. It's what you would want to offer a customer. So from a scammy standpoint, all that cool stuff that's on the brochure is actually in the terms and conditions. But back to your real question, which is how hard is it to implement? You'd have to ask Dan. I can tell you Wheel and Sprocket was very meticulous. I have a little 11-point objective list. Here's all the stuff you got to do. And they checked it off before they rolled it, and they rolled it in a January, which I'm like, you sure you don't want to roll it before Christmas? And they're like, we like to roll things out in January. They stuck to their methodology that they like to do, and it's smoking now pretty well. I mean, we got lots of room to grow, but I think it's going well, right, Dan? From an implementation standpoint and continuation.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that too. So the implementation process was really smooth. There was a initial Excel sheet that Frank had provided that's kind of like what he's used in the past and different experiences and how to just general guides to implement. We didn't modify it and tweak it a little bit more, of course, and just look what fit into our schedule, and then certain things that that we were good at that we could just bypass or move quickly on versus other things we needed to invest a little more time in. But honestly, yeah, in general, we just took our time. We took a long time actually to look at it, and we just decided the first of the year just to keep everything really smooth from transitioning from our old contracts into this new program. So that went really, really well. The number one thing that I would stress is and one thing I really like to do is look at every single option before it is presented to the teams at your stores or in your store. So try to put yourself through every situation, answer every question, ask Frank everything you can, like, is this really covered? Is this, just try to get those exact T's and C's figured out. And then that way, when you go to your store, I think there's a couple different things, like I said, it's deciding if you want the program, it's making sure it's a match for you. It's thinking about the marketing of it. It's thinking about the SKUs and what are the pricing, making sure everyone's on the same page. Writing the procedure. Yeah. How do you sell this thing? How do you make it super easy at the register? And then the biggest thing would be walking through, again, just the confidence in having, when you're at the stores doing the training, that's probably one of the biggest pieces of implementation is getting the buy-in from your teams, making sure they're just really comfortable with the process, do the role playing and just kind of walk through a couple different things. Awesome documents provided by Frank and the team there as far as like what he recommended. Again, that's the thing is like you can either use exactly what Frank you have available, or like our case, we took that and then we just made it our own so that the language is right and we want that messaging to come across out of our mouths, and it went really, really well. So once that was done too, then we just focused on the claim side of the business and how to make it as easy as possible for everybody to at the register. You've got a bunch of people in line for service. You're trying to process a claim. How do you make it as quick and easy as possible? And going back a little bit to what Frank said about like whitelisting, and I'm not sure if everyone knows what like that means, but that's just basically meaning you can log in directly to the site, so you don't have to. It's just fast. You're instantly there, and so you can pull that information up, see if the customer has a claim, an active claim. Make sure you guys are all on the same page, verify with the customer, and then move forward. So it's, again, just speeding up that whole process to make it as flawless and seamless as possible. And then the last thing that I know Frank mentioned was trust. You trust us to tell you like, hey, this is good or not good, or like it really is like up to our service teams to decide whether or not this is the right thing. Was it really while you were riding the bike? Is it an actual claim we want to submit? But just tons of trust, easy process in general. So, if anyone has questions, I can get into details, of course.
Yeah, if anyone has questions, please throw them into the chat. Any detailed questions, this is a great time while we have Dan and Frank here. Dan, I'm just thinking, given the current retail landscape, the supply challenges, How has offering the program benefited Wheel and Sprocket right now?
Yeah, so the program, what I love about the program, and I gather a lot of information from all the stores. You know, we have 11 locations, and there are just a lot of rock stars at the stores that are just awesome. And a lot of the comments, you know, that I hear and is, you know, these customers now are searching a lot of places. You know, they're going different regions, they're going all over the place to try to find a bike that fits their needs. You know, inventory is tough. So if we have that opportunity, let's just say in our region, to have a customer come in and give us the opportunity to provide them with a bike, then why would we not want to, you know, keep them coming back to us and have an awesome experience? And that's why it's proven so valuable, is because we've been able to, you know, again, try to not really lock down, but like sort of secure that customer for a long term, 2 to 3 years, and keep coming back. And again, when they do come back, it's awesome. You know, they're happy. They also, it's almost like a weight, you know, it's kind of off. You're just like, you feel like, oh, this is comfortable. They're going to take care of me. Plus, you're not thinking about, like, am I going to have to maintain the bike? What do I have to? How much money am I going to spend on this full suspension bike when the seals wear out? All the shocks need to be serviced, so on and so forth. You're actually now focusing on, how's my ride going to be better? Where can I go? What kind of gear actually do I need to improve the experience? So like, it's kind of it's multiple things that are going to benefit us, and we feel like it'll just continue to build actually in longer term.
Yeah, there's nothing like when something goes wrong with your bike. It's like that weight of wheeling it into the bike shop thinking, oh my God, how much this is going to cost me, you know, and that's a little bit removed here. So we had some questions that came up in the chat. How long does a claim take usually, Frank?
I don't know. How long does it take you to dial the phone? Or, and I'm actually not being facetious or flippant in my comment. It's this simple. And I can demonstrate the system if you want me to take care of or share the screen like Dan was talking about. We set it up so that you literally can go onto insureprotect.com/service center, and it will take you into your own service contracts that you've reported. You can then go in there, identify that's the bike with the serial number, and if it's just the annual maintenance, you click maintenance. You don't have to fill anything else out. You have your authorization number. If you're not a computer person and you don't want to log on, then you can call 1-864-RIDES, 1-866-4-RIDES, and we will answer that phone immediately. And Jermaine or Kathleen or somebody, you know, you'll run into somebody nice on the phone, and they're going to ask you 3 questions. First, they're going to say, who's it about, right? So they can look up the customer or what's the serial number or whatever. And we can look up by name, by phone number, by serial number, by purchase date, by your store number. There's so many different ways we can identify it. And we're just going to ask 3 things. What's wrong with it? When it happened and how it happened. That goes into the data in our system, and we give you a work order right on the spot. That work order you put on your own work order, and then you can scan the claim to us. You can email the claim to us. You can send it as part of your monthly file out. We can pay you with a credit card. We can ACH. We can write you a check. It really doesn't matter to us. The payment can be the same day if that's what you need. Most of our dealers just, you know, they get ACH'd every week. That's what we do, is we do a check release every Friday. That's what we do. But if you need it quicker, we're happy to do that. It literally is that simple for us to do. And like I said, any of you can get a hold of me after this meeting, and I'll take you on your own personal deep dive into it and show you how it works. But it's pretty simple. And Dan can answer it from a dealer standpoint, what we've been like in that regard. Yeah, so it's been exactly, I agree. I mean, everything you've said, Frank, is right on. I mean, it's super fast. It's almost it's just easier than you would imagine. Like I was, you know, you kind of think it's just gonna be a big process, but we did have some conversation. You know, we talked back and forth a lot during the development of it and implementation about, you know, paring down some of those questions and needed fields and the information. So that's been, I think, pretty dialed in, and now it's super fast. So yeah, just the serial number. We go to the website, put our information in there, and then move forward quickly. It's very fast and easy. And I'm going to answer it another way too, Heather, if I could. So when you sell a customer a plan, or you don't sell a customer a plan, the customer's bike, let's say it fails, whether that bike needs maintenance or whether they had an accident or the chain stretch, whatever, they come back into your shop. If the customer is not covered, then you're deciding, okay, should this be covered by the manufacturer, or is this not covered by the manufacturer? In other words, what's the situation? What's the age of it? What's the cause of it? You know, and you have to decide as the dealer, what's the conversation I'm going to have with this customer? Well, you know, I know it's only 7 months old, but you stretch your change, you're riding a lot, and, you know, we're going to need to charge you $22 for the chain and whatever for the labor. And the customer's like, what? I thought it had a 1-year warranty on it. I thought you said me. So we all know that situation, right? If that same customer was covered by a rides program, they're going to come in. What's going on? I don't know. It's not shifting right or whatever. Well, you stretch your chain. Oh, hey, you got a rides program. We're going to take care of it for you, right? And then you take care of your customer. And instead of having your customer sign off, instead of writing a quote for the customer and having them sign off on it, possibly have an argument about them, you're going to simply call us or go online and go, here's the quote, here's your authorization number coming back to you, and you complete the claim, customer signs, they got their bike, and you send it to us for payment. It literally is that easy. I mean, keep in mind, somebody was asking about the scammy thing. There's 5 parts to any warranty sale, right? There's a consumer who's buying it. There's the seller who's selling it. That's you guys. There's the administrator who's administrating it. That's us, okay? There's the obligor or the insurance company. That's who's holding the reserves for risk. And we have, as a fiduciary, our hand into that. So that's what we use to pay you, right? That's why it's immediate. Boom, there's the funds. We're grabbing it. We're writing you a check, right? Or ACH in it. And the last party is the service center. You as a dealer are both the seller and the service center. That dealer doesn't care who's standing behind that, whether it's the manufacturer, you, or the program. You know what that customer cares about? They care about making sure they're riding again, right? And if you can give them a great experience, that's really cool. So we get the 5 parts to any planned transaction, any product transaction, right? And we take it pretty seriously. So we are not ones to throw up roadblocks in front of you. We want you to be able to make your customers happy, and we want to make it easy, because then you know what you're going to want to do? You're going to want to grow your business. You're going to want to grow your extended service plan business and tell everybody. You're going to come on Zoom meetings like this, like Dan, and you're going to go, yeah, these guys are all right. And we know that. So we care about it. So that's how long a claim takes. Somebody asked about pricing on the questions. I could once again display that, but the pricing is set up, it's price point based, and it, depending upon the selling price of the bike and the length of coverage which they want, is how much they will pay for the rides plan. You generally make about 50 points on it. You don't buy these plans up front. You transact them, enter them into your system, report them, we invoice you, you pay us. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. You're going to keep about 50% of what you sell it for, and then you get paid shop rates on the back.
Frank, is there any upfront cost to the retailer to get set up?
If they're not an NBDA member, they would normally pay $250 to get, these things, and to get their, to get their counter cards and their little hang tags and, all that neat stuff and get set up. But NBDA has an exclusive on this right now. So everybody on this Zoom right now is not going to pay to get signed up. That's all waived. And so it's you go into business. We help you. We train you. We have online training. I've been in all Dan stores, some of them multiple times, and we believe in training, because all of a sudden you're not all great at selling service contracts all of a sudden. And no, plus you really do need to understand. It's like you said, Heather, you go into Best Buy and the kid goes, hey, do you want a replacement plan on that, mouse, right? Or whatever it is. And you're like, no, I don't want one on that mouse, right? Or do you want one on that? Do you want to buy it on your big screen? Well, those flat panels, we all have them. The mean time before failure rate, and this is the kind of fun stuff I do for a living. I get numbers, right? The mean time before failure rate on a flat panel is 13,000 hours. Now, you tell me the mean time before failure rate on a bike is 13,000 hours, and I will call you a little crazy, right? It's not. You're lucky sometimes to get 13 hours out of some bikes, depending upon how you ride, right? But when they offer you a plan on a flat panel, it's like there's nothing moving. Well, guess what? Bikes are electromechanical, and you know, for mechanical for sure. And you start to put Di2 shifters, or you start to go e-bikes, now you're electromechanical. Now you got stuff that can malfunction. And it's really great if you're able to offer your customers some kind of service contract, right? In the case of Dan and Wheel and Sprocket, they, like he mentioned, they used to have their own, and it was a good plan. It didn't quite cover the same amount of stuff we did. And not only that, when you have your own plan, you carry your own risk, right? When you get into this program, you're moving the risk and the liability off your own books. So, yeah, I mean, the value play is real. The margin is good. You know, you don't have to sell it for the prices we suggest. I mean, you can lower your margin, you can raise your margin, and, you know, do whatever you want to do. Our costs to you are based upon real numbers, right? The numbers we need to administrate and handle claims.
I'm thinking about, you know, like a car. I always get the warranty on the car because there's so many things I don't know, right? And so I'm thinking, yeah, you're right. With the flat screen TV, I'm like, this is gonna be fine. But with a bicycle, but then it comes to the person selling it to me, and I want them to truly describe the service plan to me like it's something that I need. And I don't know. Let's say with a car, I definitely, you know, I'm not a car mechanic. With a bicycle, I know a little bit, but does anyone have concerns about training their staff, and, you know, any questions along getting your team members selling these, or best practices? I'm sure Dan has gone through some employee training with his staff. Does anyone have any questions about how to get your team behind it that we could ask? And feel free to just to unmute yourself if you want, or use the chat function. Dan, how was it? Did you rolled it out in a strategy within all the stores, or?
Yep, yeah, we did. We, you know, we do a weekly all staff sort of email. So we just kind of introduce the program, say, this is happening, this is what we're going to do. And then, you know, gave all the details for it, you know, set up an individual training per location, went through, Frank was part of a lot of those too, and did a really nice job. We went through and did a kind of a first round of like demystifying what an ESP plan provides, and I think that's the biggest thing. Like seems like, you know, mostly everything we're talking about now is like demystifying it and making it real. So we went through that, and then literally we went through and had a training slide deck on what it covers, how to sell it, all, you know, all the things we talked about earlier. Basically just the process, procedure, and then we listened to and answered every question that came up, and there was a lot of like the same thing, like, wow, is this gonna be covered? Like, you know, like it's like the one of my coworkers always says, like a gotcha moment. Like they're kind of looking for like, well, what about this? And it's like, well, no, it's good, or it's either yes or no. I mean, it's not really too hard to figure out. Like, say, if you're riding a bike and anything happens, you're covered. And I think that it just takes time, because again, it's so unique to what you're used to. You're used to hearing, again, like Frank said, TV, flat screens, things like that. That just, you're like, I don't know if they're going to use it, but so, you know, it is practical. You are going to use it, especially for the maintenance, even just the maintenance side of it alone. It's good value. So yeah, that went really well. We've also done a few things. We've done in-house videos. So we actually took some of our top performing stores and then had them shoot a little video on how they sell it. Again, just trying to help our other staff, like, oh, wow, it's not just coming from, you know, another company. It's us internally that are promoting this and how we do it. So that was successful. And then continuing. So you get new staff all the time. You know, we've really increased the number of staff this season. And again, with the seasonality, we'll go back, and then we'll have in spring again, we'll have to basically roll it out one more time and include it as part of our orientation and onboarding program. So they're up to speed on it too. And again, just constantly monitoring it and answering questions anytime. You know, the nice thing I hear too, again, it's not just from me, but it's from all my general managers at the stores, is how quickly, you know, if they have a question, then maybe they can't get hold of me, or for some reason, which I'm always available, but if they reach out to Frank, you know, it's like same thing, instant, you know, like questions answered, and they're like, okay, I understand it now, and it just helps make it super smooth. But Yeah, you'd have to put a lot of effort into it initially, and then just the maintaining side of it, it's not too bad at all.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. And then Frank, Chris just put a question in the chat here. Have people asked to purchase like retroactively? So they bought a bike in December and then they want to come back in January. Can they do that? Is that part of the program, or does it have to be at the time of initial purchase?
No, they absolutely can come back. So here's kind of our general rule, right? When you roll out a program, we highly suggest, if you haven't been selling a program, that you send an email or a little letter to everybody that bought a bike from you in the last 11 months. And you go, hey, if you haven't messed your bike up yet, now you don't have to put that line in there, but we now offer this rides program. This is available to you. If you'd like to get it, click here or call us up and we'll transact it. So that, because you may have people come in and go, hey, I would have bought that if you had it. You don't want to say no, right, to people. But the general rule is the insurance underwriter will give you 30 days to sell it after that first grandfathering in when you come in, right? But here's the issue. If you get in the habit of saying to your customer, you make a pitch, hey, here's how this works, and you use our training and you want to get it, and the customer says, well, how long do I have to think about it? Which is they just want to skedaddle right out the door. There is a way to turn that into a sale. You go, you know what? You actually have 30 days to come back in and buy it. But one thing we know is you're not going to go home and write on your calendar, buy my rides program today. And the next time you think about it is when your bike breaks. And now it's too late because your bike is broken, right? We can't sell it to you. So this is what we suggest. Go ahead and add rides to your purchase today, and we'll give you up till the end of the manufacturer's warranty to come in and cancel for a full refund. If you haven't used your rides program during that time, feel free. But then again, your free maintenance is probably going to come 2 or 3 days later, so you're going to want it anyway. So now you'd be covered while you're thinking about it for a year instead of not covered for those first 30 days. And most customers go, I get it. That's really a good idea. Now, just like they don't come back in to buy it, right? They don't come back in to cancel it, because the next time they think about it is when their bike breaks. And if you had used that to overcome the objection and they were covered, now they come in, year and a half later, they go, dude, I crashed, and you're like, oh, you remember you bought the rides program? And they're like, oh yeah, and now it's covered. Oh, why don't we take care of your annual maintenance while you're in here too? Now you got a really happy customer that's telling everybody how awesome you are. So it's pretty cool. So that's a long answer to a short question. That's normal for me, huh?
I love Frank. Frank, Scott wants to know, are there any deductibles up front? No deductibles.
Zero. Yeah, there's no deductibles up front, and there's no deductibles in back. There's just no deductibles on the program.
So Frank, you're describing what I would say like a win-win situation in the service department post-sale. Any retailers have any lose-lose situations you'd like to share, or any thoughts, along those lines that, Oh, okay. Well, Chris has another, Chris is going with the questions. I love Chris's questions. Who determines what's in the annual maintenance?
Well, we generally try to determine that by writing it at the bottom, what's in your annual maintenance. But
Frank, we did enable you to share your screen if you'd like to, too, just so you know.
Okay, so let me grab the screen. Hopefully this is going to do it for you. And, let me bring up the brochure. Can you guys see my brochure?
Yes.
Okay. So generally speaking, the annual maintenance, right, is defined as the labor necessary for tightening, tuning, adjusting of derailleurs and, brakes, leaving a chain, hydraulic shocks, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, right? So that is what you would tell us when you sign up as a dealer. You're going to tell us what you charge for that, okay? That goes in your dealer sign up with us, and that's what we pay you to do that maintenance. Now, if you said to us, hey, Frank, we like to do more than that on our annual maintenance. So if you look at Wheel and Sprocket, which I also may be able to bring up here without too much trouble. If you look at Wheel and Sprocket's plan, right, and they define their maintenance right here, right? This is what they do. This is $125 maintenance that they do. So they define their maintenance like that. So when you ask who defines the maintenance, we have a starting point and we say, this is what we think a normal maintenance should be. You tell us what you're going to charge for that. But if you decide you want to do a different type of maintenance, then we will either edit our pricing to you or we'll say, okay, we'll accept that, right? And that's fine. And then that's what we reimburse you for your maintenance. So you're telling us up front, you know, if the maintenance we suggest is sufficient or, and if it's not, then you tell us what you want to do and what you're going to charge for that. So I hope that was what answered your question.
Yeah, if anyone has more questions, it's a great time to throw them in chat there. Frank, that was great to see your screen there. Does anyone have any...
if you guys, I was just to say, if you want me to share the pricing and all that too, we can do that. But I mean, after this call, if you're going to send me everybody's emails or whatever that is on this today that registered, I'll send you a video, right, that kind of explains what the program is and a little vignette about training. I don't even know if Dan's seen it yet. We just shot it actually at an NBA dealer in Texas a little while ago. And we can send that to you, and we can send you these brochures and the, you know, agreement and all that neat stuff. So.
Yeah, and Dan, we have a question for you. Could you tell me what percentage will say yes to buying an extended service package?
Well, as far as, I mean, Frank's got some fun stats on that too, but well, currently we're about 16% of an attachment rate for the service program. You know, I would like to be at about 30 to 40% would be ideal. And I know that's a pretty aggressive number, but based on the success we're already having and given the, like I said, we talked about current retail landscape with interactions and all of that, we'll continue to grow and also the value in it. But so we're at 16% now, but again, I'm very confident that we'll be in that 30 range as we move into next year.
And Dan, you started in January, if I remember hearing correctly.
Yeah.
So has it been a progressive increase then since then?
Yeah, it has. I mean, there's certain stores that are doing amazingly well and some that just, you know, are still getting comfortable with it, and it takes time, but certainly overall it's, again, yeah, really positive. But I do feel like it's building and building. And again, as the more times that it's the win-win, it's just easier. It's just easier to sell it, easier to be confident, easier to bring it up right away. And I know Frank's got some stats on the sales side of it.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is Dan's situation is really interesting because like most clients that we have with multiple stores, some of his stores are attaching at 30% and some of his stores aren't, right? They're more like, you know, 10. And so when you average it, he's saying he's around 15. He's got multiple stores over 20. And it comes down to that crew first, right? And that crew's like, hey, we're going to kick butt on this. We're going to get spiffs. We're going to do really, really good. And the other crew's like, you know, I don't know. And it takes them a while to catch up. And also, if people have had bad experiences before, they're like, you know, this is another extended service plan program. Who knows about these guys? And it might take some guys a while. Now, we have chains of clients and other businesses that some stores do single-digit attachment all the way up to 40 or 50% attachment. And what we do is we zero in on the success stories, and then it tends to get the whole boat moved up, right? Because boats float all at the same level eventually. So everybody eventually is going to get up to that point. I can tell you what you're asking, what that question is, we refer to that as attachment rate. That's what the term is, right? So out of every 100 opportunities you had, or how many 100 bicycles you sold, how many plans that you sell. So there's other independent dealers within the NBDA that are attaching at 50%. They're attaching at 33%. They're attaching in the 20s to 40s. It's kind of all over. And then there's others that attach in the single digits. They sell a smattering of them. So it just kind of depends upon what you put into it. It's like Dan said, you know, what you put into it is what's gonna generate. I feel pretty confident that the way things work at Wheel and Sprocket, because there is some weird peer pressure over there, I've seen. You know, there aren't going to be a lot of people that are going to want some of the other stores to be continually, you know, leading the pack. Some of them are going to, you know, start running or riding and trying to pull ahead. You know, we'll see. It's going to be funny.
Another question, you know, are you seeing a bigger attachment ratio on mountain bikes, road bikes, fitness bikes, kids bikes? Like, who is typically buying this? Is there a certain bike that you're seeing stand out, or can you speak to that at all? Or is it just a smattering?
Yeah, for us, it's on a variety of bikes. We do a lot of family bikes. We do a lot of road, mountain, I mean, a little bit of everything in the category. So it's, you know, certainly as the price, the unit price increases, it's a little bit more of an investment. So you'll have a drop off there. But really, it's like in most bikes, it's a sweet spot. You know, if you've got an average selling price of $900 or something, that's probably where you're going to be in the same category. And that's what we found too. It's pretty much a bell curve of that pricing. And then it's also value, you know, proposition. So if you're looking at like investing in a lower plan, and you're looking at like an annual, and you're pretty much buying you're pre-buying some maintenance and service, and so it's a lot obviously easier just to say like, okay, you know, like, am I going to get my money back? Pretty much. I just you know, I'm also covered for if something happens in that time frame. So that's where you'll see the majority of your sales.
I hate to, because we're redefining the word cyclist, but are you seeing new cyclists or maybe long-term, you know, cyclists? Is there anything there you can point at as far as who's buying these plans?
I would probably have to dig a little deeper into that on my end to see, but from, you know, feedback and interactions, it's a little bit of both. You know, it's a lot of obviously new customers coming into the market that are like you spoke. Remember, you said you were like, oh, I don't know how to maintain the car. I don't want to deal with the car, right? So of course I need that. Well, there's a lot of people who do not want to work on bikes, and they just want to trust you to take care of them, and that's that new customer is great. Then on the other side of the coin, you've got customers who've ridden for a long time, and they know they're going to wear their chain out, and they know they're going to beat their suspension up, and they know, you know, they're just like, oh, I've been through this before. This is my third bike, and you're telling me right now it's going to cost X amount of dollars to now take care of this and back this. And then I have crashed once on my first bike. I remember that cost me a lot. You know, like, so it's a little bit of both. You know, just have to like have that conversation with each individual person for their needs.
Right. We had another question. Thanks so much, Dan. We had another question that came in from Chris. Great question. Chris is winning the question award today. I love his questions. So it says, how do you handle bikes with a problem that'll be an hourly rate to fix, like a seized bolt or integrated cable, something that's really time consuming to replace?
Yeah, so I think for us, we do no different than any other work order. You know, you do your very best to write it properly when it's at the intake time, and then you would have to adjust that SKU and enter that as a claim. I think there's within reason. You know, that's part of the conversation. I'm guessing, you know, back and forth with Frank and, you know, your service team, and just make sure you're all agreeing to how much time it took to get the job done. But we usually try to be very accurate, just like we are with anything else. No different than charging the customer, you know, charging Insure Protect for that service, if that answers the question.
So does everyone understand how this works? So they pay a fee when they buy the bike, and then they can come back for annuals, but they can also come back if something gets broken. Anything else, Frank, that we're not, or Dan, that we're not covering that might be just important, just ways that it works, like simple ways that, you know, retailers get paid, that everyone's happy? I mean, I know we've covered a lot here, but anything else just to sum it up?
No, I just jump in. Okay, yeah, just so no, I mean that is the gist of it, right? So you're selling the program, you're obviously taking care of it at the front end, and then as far as the maintenance, you're getting reimbursed for that service that you're providing, or worn out parts or damaged broken parts. The only thing that I haven't heard that we haven't really chatted about was the transferable side of the program, and then the value that it brings to the extended. So let's just say that customer is an app customer, they're buying, you know, a bike every year or something, and what that does is add a fair amount of value to the range. So you've got a really poor shaped bike on a trade-in, or you got a high range. So instantly we put that at the very highest end range. So we say to our customers, hey, you've got increased trade-in value for this, because not only can we, the bikes take care of it because we took care of it, and the fact that you can transfer this to the new owner that has a year left on it is another incentive. So we can ask more for the bike in return. So that's the only thing that I think is another kind of like forgotten about part of some profit and revenue there. So.
I like that. I didn't know that, Dan. Thank you. That's a great thing. I had no idea about that.
Yeah, transferability is really good for resale value. But from a simplicity standpoint, it's also coming into the selling season. And so people might say, oh, well, this bike is for somebody else. No problem. Buy it under your name, give them their little bride's brochure along with, the bike, and then they can call the 800 number. We'll just transfer it over to that person's name. You can do that too. So it's pretty simple. No charge.
So if anyone has questions for Frank, I'm happy. We'll send an email, everyone's email over, and I know Frank will reach out. Any additional questions? Dan, thank you for volunteering your time to come and just talk about your experience with rides. It's really kind of you. Please tell Amelia I said hi. And I'm so thankful, Chris and Brian and Carrie and Amos and Stacy, everyone, Scott, for showing up today. Michelle, awesome Zoom skills. I liked the highlighting. That was really cool. We will have this recording available probably tomorrow up on the NBDA website in our member area recordings. Any additional questions, just let us know. And thank you everyone for being here. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon.
Hey, I'll see you too next week. Any of you in LA, if you're going to the CABDA show, we'll see you down there.
All right, good night. Bye, everyone. Have a nice afternoon.
Bye-bye.